Hey guys, welcome in for Truth Talks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Great topic today. Can't wait to dive in and share my coaching tips and my thoughts on how to look at this situation and maybe give some ideas on how to process, right? Understanding that every relationship is different. There's no cookie cutter approach. You can't one size fits all a relationship. And so you have to do what's best for you in your situation. So again, not a cookie cutter approach. This is intended to be my personal opinion, and to share, hey Anton, what's up, sweetheart? Intended to share with you sort of what I feel like you can, hey Jay, you can look at certain situations and then there's another way to look at it. Well, I usually have the other perspective, right? I don't typically look at situations the same way as other people do. I try and take a really unattached approach to it, even when it's my own personal situation. So today we are going to dive into the subject. The question I got was, hey Mars, how do you know when it's really over? How do you know when it's really over? So that's the topic I'm going to tackle today. So welcome in, share the video out, good conversation. I know there's some people out there that want to talk about when is the relationship really over. Now's the time to do it. So share the video out. My name is Marcy Batiste. Welcome to the Ultimate Power Team. I'm your Ultimate Power Coach, America's #1 reality-based success and recovery trainer, here to help you get over your stumbling blocks, take 100% ownership over your life, relationships, and your business. And today we're talking about business so that you can create, or we're talking about relationships so that you can create that custom fitted life and start to experience life unedited, which is amazing from personal experience. So how do you know when it's over? How do you know when it's over? I tell people all the time. I had an inbox the other day that said, how can you give relationship advice when you're divorced? Well, do you want to learn from somebody who's never been through something, or you want to learn from somebody who's been through it and come out the other side? That's how I look at it. And like I told them, my voice isn't for every ear, so if it doesn't fit, don't listen. It's that simple. So I also am very, very transparent in saying that I've gotten it wrong more times than I've gotten it right. And the thing about that whole thing is, if people are really honest, that's the case for most people. Most people have gotten it wrong more times than they've gotten it right when it comes to relationships and even friendships, for in a lot of ways and in a lot of respects. But most people aren't going to be that honest about it. I just happen to be very honest and very transparent about it. I've gotten it wrong a lot of times, but I learned some amazing, what's going on, Earl? I've learned some amazing lessons about it. And more importantly, not that I learned the lessons about the situations, I learned the lessons about myself. I learned the lessons about how I think, how I process, how I respond. And I've learned how to be responsive versus reactionary. That's a huge thing. If you're going to get over anything, you have to be responsive and not reactionary. So the question came in, how do you know when it's really over? Long story short, long-term relationship, not married, no children together. How do you know when it's really over? Well, here's my take on it. First of all, it's usually over long time before it's ended or concluded. So that being said, my personal opinion, and if you were one of my coaching clients, we would take a deeper dive into this, but it's over when it's over for you, mentally, emotionally, sometimes physically, spiritually, sexually. Those are red flags that it is over. The problem is, a lot of us want to stay in it after it's over. And the thing of it is, you got to remember, a relationship is two people. Sometimes more than two, but that's a whole other subject for a whole other video on a whole other day. But let's assume two people are in the relationship. It can well be over for one person and not be over for the other person. The other person could actually be pretty clueless to the fact that it's over, depending on their level of attachment to the relationship, their level of attachment to the other party, their partner. what kind of communication skills you all have together. It's a broad spectrum. But I will tell you that when it's over in your mind, and there's a saying that they say, when a woman stops crying, beware, because she no longer care. When you are no longer in it, mentally and emotionally, especially, because you can be checked out mentally and emotionally and still go down that physical path because it feels good for the moment. And then afterwards, you're like, why are we even doing this? Because it's just that moment in time, right? So the key is the mental and emotional attachment to the situation and to the relationship, and the fact that it can be over long before you. Give perfect example. I was with my ex-husband for 18 years. We were married for 16 years. It was over for me probably at year 5, maybe 6. It was over for me. I was so over it. I was done. I was long. I can't go all the way back, but marriage was never my first choice, and I got married for the wrong reasons. So then I found myself in this long-term situation that I didn't know how to get out of, because now by that time I've got 2 little kids, got this family, the house, the career, the dog, the cat, the 2 cars, the motorcycle, the everything. And so mentally and emotionally, I was over it. I knew that this was not going to have a successful end. I knew that. I knew that at year 6. I was still in it until year 16. 10 freaking years, you guys. So when I tell you it can be over for you and it still not be the end, that's because there's some certain steps that you have to take in order to get from over to end to conclusion. And they're not the same thing. And people try and use the terms interchangeably, and they're not the same thing. So you can be over it mentally and emotionally and physically and spiritually, and sometimes even financially, where you're spending your own money and they're spending their own money, and still not have it come to an end. And so the end, basically I look at it like it's over when you're detached. It's over when you're detached. For me, I have, blessing or curse, an ability to stay in situations that I'm completely detached from. And I had to train myself out of that behavior because it was a self-sabotaging behavior. And I had to teach myself to stop behaving that way and to honor my value and to honor what I wanted and to honor my space and to honor my happiness and all those things. But until I learned that, I could live in the space of it's over for a really long time because I had 10 years to practice it. So I got really, really good at operating in that detached space, right? So that to me is when it's over. That's when it's over. That's when you know, like, we need to be moving this thing towards conclusion because it's not going to get any better. The end, I think, is when you stop trying. I think you can be over it and still wish for something else. You can wish for a different conclusion. You can wish that it's going to be different. But once it's ended, you stop trying to make it something that is not. When you can accept it for what it is and say, you know what, had a good run. A good run's better than a bad stand any day. Let me take this. It might be an L, it might be a break even. I don't know. Maybe it's a W. But you take it for what it is, and you have the conversation that says, you know what, this doesn't work for me. And people use the term, this relationship isn't working. Well, it could be working for the other person. The point is, it's not working for you, and that's who you're sold out for. I'm sold out to me. I'm sold out to my happiness. It could work for you, but if it doesn't work for me, I need to move it towards conclusion. And that was the piece, you guys, where I had to teach myself and really, really practice some skills to say, okay, we have to learn and find a system that will allow us to go from it's over to ended to concluded quickly, and be able to make those decisions for myself so that I can protect my happiness and protect my energy and protect my space. Conclusion is, you've had the conversation. This relationship is no longer working for me. I need for us to be done. What does that look like? You have the conversation, depending on what you've commingled, whether it's finances and house and budget and cars and titles and all this other stuff. You start working towards how do you separate those things, and you start slowly pulling it apart, pulling it apart, pulling it apart. Once everything is segregated, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. And only when you are moving on, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, the whole package, can it ever come to conclusion. And so it's not just as so simple as to say, when is it over? It's over, but you still have work to do to bring it to conclusion. You can't just leave it in this open space of it's over for me. Trust me, I did that for 10 years, you guys. I did it for 10 freaking years. I had a whole family and a whole career and a whole life in a detached state. And then relationships that I got into after that, I continued to manage that way because I don't know if it's from being an only child or growing up in the type of environment that I did, but I have a way to just block people out. And so I literally can be in the same house with you and not talk to you for years and not bother me. But that's not healthy. That's not healthy. And I recognize that that's a behavior within me that was self-sabotaging me from ultimately finding a healthy, happy, whole relationship. And in addition to that, it was just keeping me from being happy. Like you can't possibly be 100% happy and 100% detached at the same time. It's not possible. It's not possible. So learning those skills to say, okay, Marcy, yes, it's possible. Hey, Danya, it's possible to live in this detached state, but does that serve your best self? No, it didn't. I had proof that it does not serve my best self. I had gained was up to almost 400 pounds, like all this other stuff going on in my life. It did not serve me. It did not serve my best self. It did not serve my soul. It did not serve my spirit. Nothing. So learning to move and navigate outside of that. So long and short of it, it's over when it's over for you. The question is, are you ready to move from over to end and on into conclusion? And there are steps that you can take to do that. Those are the types of things when we're working in a coaching relationship, whether it's accountability or private client, whatever. That's the kind of stuff where we take those deep dives, because you can't move on into something else. You can't fully be happy. You can't fully feel fulfilled. You can't fully be successful if you're in this detached state of mind, because it's constantly, you're borrowing energy and mental capacity to feed this detached state that you no longer even want to be part of, but you're afraid or intimidated or don't know how to end it. That's what we work on in coaching, and giving you those communication skills. How do you have that crucial conversation that says, you know what, this is no longer working for me? And that's the language. This relationship is no longer working for me. I need for boom. As Iyanla says, repeat and complete. This relationship is no longer working for me. I need for boom to happen. I need for you to boom happen. That's the conversation that takes you from over to end, and then to go from end to conclusion is breaking everything down, breaking away the pieces, stopping the emotional attachments and things like that. So that's my advice. Those are some tips that I can give you off the top. If you want more information, feel free to inbox me. Always 24/7. Remember, this is all about asked and answered, where you can inbox me a question. Your information's always kept confidential, and your name is never ever identified. I don't put people's business in the street. That's not what I do. So inbox me if you have questions. Relationships, life, relationships, business, whatever. That's what Ultimate Power Coaching is about. I'm here to help. So that's it for me today, guys. As always, thanks for living life on Mars. Thanks for being part of the Ultimate Power team. Talk to y'all later. Have a great day.